Hello, good evening. Today I'm reading chapter 5 of Coaching with Respect, the final chapter, and it's a lot. So I will stop at, let me see. I'll stop at Reasons to be Silent, which is page 98 of this book. And once again, thank you, Captain Shan, for writing this book, and it's really useful. And I encourage everyone who are coach or who likes to be one, take a point to listen to what I've read. If you don't understand, then I suggest that you buy the book from Captain Shan. The website is Team Coach, so you can write into them. If not, then you just write an email to me, and then I will send you the details how to get his book. Okay, chapter 5 today talk on essential masteries and tools of respect and embracing respect in communication. Quotation from Captain Shan: we are blessed with abundance. We just need to recognize those blessings and make a conscious decision to accept it with gratefulness and thankfulness. Thank you, Captain Shan. Listening and reflecting. Most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. Stephen Covey. I, like any other people, is also same. So coaching have helped me to concentrate on listening for the sake of listening. One has to work hard at including. We must make room for everyone. Inclusions. The first step. Coaching is process-oriented. Coaches try to create a conducive environment for their participants where they can embark on an exploratory journey of learning and development. They do this by implementing a set of tasks that run consecutively to elicit active participation in a number of ways and for a variety of reasons. At every stage of the explorative process, there is a rich array of approaches and tools adopted to negotiate the different phases deemed necessary to produce first a discovery and then the desired results. Undoubtedly, this means that the participants' progression from stage to stage is reliant on how well the tools are administered. This will determine the desired final outcome. Fundamentally, when individuals or teams willingly choose to step onto the coaching platform, they already have an inkling that this involves a degree of participation. The intention to engage in order to see result is omnipresent, but the extent of individual readiness and ability to open and responsive to others in a productive way varies. Correspondingly, a mindful coach, sensitive to the varying human conditions, would facilitate the engagement and empowerment process through a range of tasks which would embrace the diverse needs and conditions. When it comes to dealing with human nature, there isn't a uniform approach that will ensure a sufficient level of engagement among each and every participant. Coaches have to consciously deploy good practices built on the foundation of respect to be inclusive in coaching process. They cannot afford to be put off by unhelpful behavior and make it an excuse to be less inclusive or even exclude. Rather, they have to find solution, thinking on their feet to engage fruitfully with challenging human traits such as close-mindedness, disengagement, lack of confidence, and uncooperativeness. Knows no boundary, and the coach is obliged to apply it to everyone who wants to be coached. An inclusive learning and development environment thus demands a great degree of reverence for diversity in all its forms. Differences in intellectual and mental capacity, language barriers, physical and emotional abilities and disabilities, as well as contrasting contrasting personal background and values needs to be acknowledged. The coach must bear in mind that participants expect results no matter what their learning and development barriers may be, no matter how uncommunicative they present themselves or how excluded they might initially feel at the beginning of a coaching session. This is where programs use well-designed participatory approaches, techniques, tools, activities, and resources can help overcome individual barriers and create equal opportunities for engagement and progression for all. Listen, listen, listen. How do coaches ensure inclusivity in communication? How do we enable quality in engagement within the coaching environment? What steps can be taken to enable the less able among the participants to overcome individual barriers and engage fully? These are important questions which a coach must address, for communication is indeed the basis of every coaching experience. There is a range of ways in which we communicate: cultural norms, societal expectation, personal circumstances and preferences, and professional codes of conduct dictate what and how we convey in a given situation. A coaching situation is especially cognizant of this fact and provides opportunity for different forms of interaction and engagement. After all, we don't just communicate when we open our mouths. Sometimes mouths that remain shut communicate a message too. We carry out a number of direct and indirect physical and mental activities in the presence of others. These transmit both loud and subtle signals, and they can convey either useful or unhelpful messages that can affect the coaching process at many levels. When this book was written, face to face is never an issue. With the pandemic, it became a challenge for coaches to really um, uh, feel or see the body language. But this is one good challenge, because as we progress with virtual, um, we improve on our ability to catch these signs, especially when a person talk. And even when I'm being coached, I also observe my own body language. So I think it's added value now, especially when we do it virtually. But it's still up to individual how you want to see it. Correspondingly, the way people react to other people's communication in a team can also be significant bearings on the coaching quality. How we listen to others, for example, particularly in a learning and development environment, is immensely important. In this respect, good listening skills among coaches is crucial to the success of coaching. A coach enters the foray armed with helpful techniques which would enable him to not only listen attentively, but to listen in order to engage productively with participants. But what are sound listening skills? Before we can answer this question, we need to explore the three levels of listening that are commonly practiced in coaching, and which may also be applicable in everyday situation. Listen to this because it's very powerful. Level 1, listening but being distracted by one's own voice. When you are a new coach, this is always happening. This happens a lot in our daily interactions. We appear to be listening, but our thoughts are constantly racing along with the sound that we hear. We do not allow the other person to have his say unconditionally. His words were incessantly being interrupted by our own values and judgment. In coaching, this builds a barrier between the coach and the participant. A coach who engages in the following ways of listening needs to ask himself, how is this useful to a person I'm listening to? How can participants gain from this type of listening? 1. Listening to your internal dialogue and what it is telling you when you hear the participants speak is a barrier. Very true. Passing judgment as a result, following our own agenda rather than that of the participant is detrimental to coaching. So what I do is when this type of thing happen, I reminded myself uh, to have the meditative mind. Just go back to the voice of the participants. Forget about whatever is going on in my mind. Level 2, listening and paraphrasing. This is very helpful too. Because when your mind is bringing you away, then you just paraphrase whatever the participants is saying and it brings you back to the present moment, which is crucial. How many of us do this in our day-to-day interactions? How easy is it to be fully present when you are engaging with another person? How do we listen as listeners, reassure the other person that we are following what he or she is saying very closely? More importantly, how do we give our clear signals that we are interested in what is being said? Professionals such as journalists, talk show hosts, counselors, and doctors are paid to listen and ask questions. They thus have to give their full attention to the words. A coach is no different. The coach must listen with focus and with the purpose of enabling the listening process to be beneficial to the participant. He has to indicate interest and have the ability to help participants to process and reflect their own words afterwards. These are some of the characteristics of this level of listening. Being focused on the participants, giving them your undivided attention and being acutely aware of what is said, summarizing and reflecting what the participants said, holding up a magic mirror to the participant and echoing the participant's words. Level 3. Listening with intensity. Here there is a higher level of attentiveness which goes beyond the immediate message that is being put across. Note that this does not mean that the coach is judging or putting his own value into what is being said as in level 1, but rather he is able to delve deeper beyond the spoken words to become aware of the nuances at hand. The coach does not ascribe his own opinion to this, and it is merely an observation which provides food for thought. So, practicing a deeper level of listening, being tuned to participants' words and how they are saying them, being aware of the tone of their voice, to their pauses, pitch, reading, body language, and energy. My coaches did it pretty professionally, so I always have to rethink when I have such issues. Then what brings them ask me what questions, picking up what is not being said as much as what is being said. Masterful coaches are always listening at level 3, which is why they are effective. Establishing good practices in listening also enables the coach to ask good questions in response to what has been said. These are not questions thrown at random to fill gaps or to score points on the part of the coach. Rather, they are thoughtful and logical that would prompt the participants to move on with the thinking process, from articulating initial thoughts to processing the spoken words and re-articulating further thoughts to enable progression. Let's face it, there is no point in talking if you are not prepared to accept feedback. This is particularly relevant in a highly interactive space such as coaching, where people come to offload their ideas they have been carrying around in the hope that they can turn into action. It's good to talk, but talking in coaching terms has a ring of purposefulness to it. So has listening. Talking and listening at this stage by the participants and the coach have to be managed to achieve results. Listening to coach, managing distractions. 2 years, many voices. The challenge to produce good results requires sound listening practice. This is especially pertinent in team coaching. You have only one set of years, and if you have not put in place a firm approach and ill prepared to deal with diverse learning capacity, you may end up excluding some people. This may be a scenario you have encountered. You have not made provision to enable bigger voices to surface. You have not laid out the tools to empower those who have been living under a cloud of disempowerment for some time. As a result, you may well end up limiting the opportunities for a few individuals to benefit fully from the coaching experience. Coaches have to practice equality. Time is ticking. There isn't always enough time to listen to everyone within the allotted scope, but you have to make time and create the opportunity. Indeed, there is no compromise. A coach must always see to it that everyone is heard. Every voice matters. This demonstrates inclusiveness and respects the wisdom that each person brings to the team, regardless of performance and capacity. Taking notice of an individual's capability or inability, the coach will ensure that no one strong voice will be dominant. I used to be very dominant. I like to talk. So nowadays I learn to listen. A good coach will have many tools and approaches at his disposal to guarantee no voice is drowned in the midst of bustling teamwork. Interferences to listening. It is important to note that listening in a group situation will have its additional sets of challenges compared to one-to-one listening. The dynamics are greater and there has to be more effort made on the part of the coach to ensure inclusion. However, the basic rules of skill listening are the same in both group and individual situations. The coach will do well to remember not to do the following, which will disrupt the flow of distill the quality of information received. Here is a list of don'ts in listening. Don't give unsolicited advice. Judge or evaluate what has described by participant. Downgrade the importance of what had been said by participant. Ignore what was shared. Reprimand the participants. Contradict what has been said by the participant. Be uninterested in what you hear. Finish the sentence for the participants. This I have to practice a lot. So those are the don't. The power of silence. At the end of the scale, silences are allowed to punctuate the engagement process and can be seen as helpful in coaching. The absence of words can be a powerful tool for reflections. Here's why. Silence can give room for reflection and make it easier for a coach to elicit information. Silence during a conversation is uncomfortable, very, and people feel compelled to break it. So I have to learn to be patient and still smiling, because it's not the participant's fault if I don't keep quiet and let the silence be a space for them to think. It is my duty to be silent. Be silent but engage, maintain eye contact and appropriate listening posture, and the other person usually will volunteer more information and whatever topic is being addressed. Reflecting. How can we be sure we are good listeners? To put it simply, only the participant can judge us on this. Skillful listening will enable the listener to reflect not just on the words, but the manner in which they are delivered. Reflecting is a useful tool. where the attentive listener responds to both the verbal and non-verbal messages. When you listen well and reflect, you automatically respond appropriately because you have been paying attention to the message. You have not rushed to give quick verbal responses as you take time to reflect what you have just said. This is sound listening. The participant is more likely to volunteer more information or articulate further thoughts if there is a sense of being understood. When this happens, it means listening has been effective. The listener, the coach, would have found a way of empowering the participant to dwell deeper into his inner self by mirroring and reaffirming what has been said and enabling the participants to reassess his own words. In this instance, both the coach and the participants will reach a level where they can reflect upon what was said and what was heard. Reflecting gives clarity to both parties. To the participant, it gives him confidence that he is being heard and is being heard accurately. To the coach, it strengthens his own understanding and encourages him to move forward. A simple way of reflecting is mirroring, that is, giving back what is given out, which is usually brief. Good listeners do not clutter the mirroring with their own words and judgment. Coaches may find it useful to merely repeat key words or the last few phrases spoken. This is worthwhile exercise to follow every listening session, for it demonstrates to participants a level of attentiveness and understanding on the part of coaches. It could lead to participants being more open because they anticipate empathy to follow understanding. But one shouldn't overdo this or it will be mechanical. The other form of reflecting is paraphrasing. Here, coaches having listened attentively repeat not the words but their understanding of the word in their own style. They may use the phrases or words, but what they do not do is offer their own ideas or put the speakers under the spotlight by questioning his motives or thoughts. Paraphrasing is done correctly. If done correctly, is a good way of demonstrating to the speaker that you are trying to understand what is being said and what is being meant by it. In a nutshell, reflecting in coaching has the following elements: repeating someone's words exactly as they were spoken, including tone and body language; validating what has been said, reassuring people that they are heard and the coach is interested in what they are saying; or helping the participant to hear and reassess what they have said, bouncing back the participants' words to them in form of a question. Inclusion in coaching is a paramount in achieving individual and team goals, but there is no quick fix to preventing exclusion at every level of the coaching process. One has to work hard at being totally inclusive. Bearing in mind the diversity can be viewed as problematic and challenging by some quarters. The diversity that participants present to the coaching world, if handled properly, will enrich the process of engagement. But in the wrong hand, it can also produce inequality and exclusion and limit sources for some individuals. So instead of stopping at page 98, which is another chapter, I feel that it should be by itself, not another chapter, another part which should be by itself, I will stop at page 89. So tomorrow, part 2, I will go with the flow. You will start with questioning. Okay, so until then, hope you find time to listen on what coaching is all about, how it can contribute to your development, and if you are interested to be a coach, especially if you have capability of other languages besides English, I welcome you to join the coaching world. You can contact Captain Shan and his team at Team Coach International. Thank you. Till then, see you.